Carl Jung once observed that one of the greatest psychological dangers in human relationships is the unconscious exchange of emotional energy. Because when we are not aware of what is happening inside ourselves, we often begin carrying emotions, tensions, and expectations that do not truly belong to us. Many people move through life without realizing how strongly the people around them influence their inner state, their mood, their sense of identity, and even their level of exhaustion. You may have noticed that some interactions leave you feeling calm, inspired, and clear-minded, while others leave you strangely drained, tense, or emotionally heavy, even when nothing obvious has happened on the surface. This experience is not imaginary, and it is not a sign that you are weak or overly sensitive. It is a sign that your psychological boundaries may be more open than you realize. In a world where constant communication, endless notifications, and the emotional demands of others are always present, protecting your inner energy has become one of the most important psychological skills a person can develop. Without this awareness, your attention, your emotional stability, and even your sense of direction can slowly become scattered across the needs and expectations of everyone around you. Many people believe that being endlessly supportive, always available, and constantly attentive to others is a sign of kindness and emotional maturity. Yet over time, this pattern often leads to something very different. It leads to exhaustion, confusion, resentment, and the quiet feeling that your life is slowly being shaped by forces outside of your control. Protecting your energy does not mean withdrawing from the world or becoming distant from others. It means learning how to remain present in relationships without losing connection with yourself. It means understanding when to engage, when to step back, and when to recognize that certain emotional dynamics are not yours to carry. When you begin to understand this, something powerful starts to change. Your relationships become clearer, your decisions become calmer, and your inner life begins to feel less chaotic and more stable. In this video, we will explore 10 powerful ways to protect your energy so that your attention, your emotional strength, and your psychological balance remain connected to what truly matters in your life. The first way to protect your energy is learning to stop explaining yourself to everyone. Many people fall into the habit of constantly justifying their choices, their boundaries, and their decisions, as if their life requires approval from the people around them. They feel the need to clarify why they declined an invitation, why they changed their plans, or why they chose a different direction than someone expected. At first glance, this behavior may appear polite and considerate, but psychologically, it often reveals something deeper. When you feel the need to explain every decision you make, it usually means that your sense of authority over your own life has quietly become dependent on the opinions of others. Every explanation you give invites evaluation. It opens the door for people to question your reasoning, to challenge your priorities, or to subtly influence your decisions. Over time, this dynamic slowly drains your psychological energy because your life becomes a continuous negotiation rather than an expression of your own direction. Protecting your energy sometimes means allowing your decisions to exist without constant justification. Not every boundary requires a long explanation. Not every choice requires approval. The more comfortable you become with simply stating what you have decided, the more stable and grounded your inner world becomes. The second way to protect your energy is learning to tolerate disappointing people. This may sound simple, but for many individuals it is one of the most difficult psychological shifts they will ever experience. From a very young age, many people learn to associate harmony with safety, and as a result, they begin organizing their behavior around avoiding disappointment in others. They say yes when they want to say no. They take on responsibilities that were never truly theirs. They adjust their opinions and preferences so that the emotional atmosphere around them remains comfortable. Yet living this way creates a hidden cost. When you constantly prevent others from feeling disappointed, you slowly teach them that your boundaries are flexible and that your needs can always be postponed. Eventually, this dynamic leads to exhaustion, because the emotional stability of everyone around you becomes your responsibility. Learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing someone is therefore not an act of selfishness. It is an act of psychological independence. It means recognizing that other people are capable of managing their own emotional reactions and that protecting your inner stability is not something you should feel guilty about. The third way to protect your energy is learning to pay attention to how people make you feel rather than only listening to what they say. Many individuals spend a great deal of time analyzing words, trying to interpret intentions, or searching for logical explanations for the behavior of others. Yet they often overlook one of the most important signals the psyche constantly provides. Your emotional state after interacting with someone is often a far more accurate indicator of the dynamic than any explanation you might construct in your mind. After spending time with certain people, you may notice that you feel calm, clear, and mentally expanded, as if your energy has been strengthened rather than depleted. These interactions tend to feel natural and balanced because there is an unspoken mutual respect for psychological space and emotional boundaries. But there are other interactions that leave a very different imprint on your inner world. You may walk away feeling confused, tense, slightly anxious, or strangely exhausted even when the conversation itself appeared normal on the surface. This kind of reaction is often a signal that an unconscious emotional dynamic is taking place. Some people constantly project their stress, their insecurity, or their unresolved conflicts onto the people around them. Others unconsciously seek emotional validation or reassurance in ways that require a continuous supply of attention and support. When you repeatedly expose yourself to these dynamics without recognizing them, your psychological energy slowly becomes entangled with emotional processes that do not belong to you. Learning to notice how you feel after spending time with someone is therefore an essential skill in protecting your energy. Your inner state is not random. It is information. And when you begin listening to it carefully, you start recognizing which environments and relationships strengthen you and which ones quietly drain you. The fourth way to protect your energy is creating psychological distance when necessary. Many people assume that maintaining relationships always requires constant closeness, continuous communication, and immediate emotional availability. Yet healthy psychological functioning often requires periods of distance where your mind can reorganize itself without external influence. Without moments of distance, your thoughts, emotions, and decisions become easily shaped by the atmosphere around you. The opinions of others begin to feel louder than your own inner voice, and the constant exchange of emotional signals leaves very little space for clarity. Psychological distance does not mean rejecting people or withdrawing from meaningful relationships. It simply means recognizing when your inner world needs time to settle. Sometimes this involves spending time alone. Sometimes it means limiting certain conversations or interactions that repeatedly create emotional turbulence. When you allow yourself these moments of distance, something important begins to happen. Your thoughts become quieter, your emotional reactions become clearer, and the direction of your life starts to feel less influenced by external pressures. The fifth way to protect your energy is protecting your time. Time is the invisible container of your energy. Every conversation, every request, and every obligation occupies a portion of your attention, and once that attention is given away, it cannot easily be recovered. Many people underestimate how strongly their time is influenced by the expectations of others. They respond immediately to messages, accept invitations out of habit, and allow their schedule to be shaped by the needs of those around them. At first, these choices may appear harmless, yet over time they create a life where very little space remains for reflection, creativity, or genuine rest. Your mind becomes constantly occupied with responding rather than choosing. Protecting your energy, therefore, requires a deeper awareness of how your time is being used. Not every request deserves immediate attention. Not every conversation needs to happen right now. And not every demand on your schedule deserves equal importance. When you begin protecting your time more deliberately, your energy naturally becomes more stable. Your attention becomes focused rather than scattered, and your life slowly begins to reflect your priorities rather than the expectations of everyone around you. The sixth way to protect your energy is learning to stop absorbing the emotions of other people. Empathy is an important human capacity that allows us to understand the experiences of others and to respond with compassion. Yet empathy becomes psychologically dangerous when it turns into emotional absorption. Many individuals unconsciously begin carrying the stress, sadness, or frustration of the people around them as if these emotions were their own responsibility to manage. When this pattern becomes habitual, your emotional state starts fluctuating according to the moods of the people around you. If someone close to you feels anxious, you begin to feel anxious as well. If someone is frustrated or angry, you feel the tension spreading through your own body and mind. Over time, this creates a situation where your inner stability becomes dependent on the emotional balance of others, which is something you can never fully control. Protecting your energy means recognizing that empathy does not require emotional absorption. You can understand someone's experience without carrying their emotional weight inside your own psyche. The seventh way to protect your energy is learning to trust your intuition. Your mind is constantly processing subtle signals about the people and environments around you, often long before your conscious reasoning has had time to analyze the situation. This intuitive awareness may appear as a vague sense of comfort, curiosity, or openness toward someone, but it can also appear as a quiet feeling of tension or unease that you cannot easily explain. Many people ignore these signals because they believe that intuition must always be justified by logical evidence. They remain in situations that feel uncomfortable because they cannot clearly explain why something feels wrong. Yet your intuition often recognizes emotional patterns that your conscious mind has not yet fully understood. When you repeatedly dismiss these signals, you expose yourself to environments and relationships that slowly drain your psychological energy. Learning to respect your intuitive reactions does not mean becoming suspicious of everyone around you. It simply means allowing your inner signals to inform your decisions instead of constantly overriding them with rational explanations. The eighth way to protect your energy is learning to stop being constantly available. When you are always accessible, always responsive, and always ready to engage, your energy becomes an open resource that others naturally learn to rely on. This does not happen because people intend to exploit you, but because human behavior naturally adapts to what is consistently available. If your time and attention are always easy to access, others will begin to assume that they can reach you whenever they need support, reassurance, or conversation. Over time, this expectation creates a pattern where your energy is continuously distributed among the needs of others. Protecting your energy, therefore, requires occasional unavailability, not as a form of rejection, but as a form of balance. When you are not always immediately present, your attention becomes more intentional and your relationships become less dependent on constant access to your emotional resources. The ninth way to protect your energy is learning to protect your inner world. Many people pay attention to protecting their physical environment. They choose where they live, where they work, and the physical spaces where they spend their time. Yet far fewer people recognize that the inner world of the mind requires the same kind of protection. Every conversation you have, every piece of information you consume, and every emotional dynamic you participate in leaves a subtle imprint on your psychological landscape. Your thoughts are not created in isolation. They are constantly influenced by the atmosphere that surrounds you. If you repeatedly expose your mind to negativity, constant conflict, or emotionally chaotic environments, your inner state slowly begins to reflect that atmosphere. Your thoughts become more scattered. Your emotional reactions become stronger, and your ability to remain calm and focused gradually weakens. Protecting your energy, therefore, requires becoming more selective about what you allow into your inner world. This includes the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the media you consume, and even the thoughts you repeatedly entertain in your own mind. When you begin filtering these influences more consciously, something important begins to shift. Your mind becomes quieter. Your emotional reactions become less reactive, and your sense of psychological stability begins to grow. You start realizing that not every opinion deserves your attention, not every conflict deserves your involvement, and not every emotional storm around you needs to enter your inner world. The 10th way to protect your energy is choosing your environment wisely. Human beings are profoundly shaped by the environments they inhabit. The people around you, the emotional tone of your workplace, the conversations you participate in, and even the physical spaces where you spend your time all influence your psychological state in ways that are often invisible. Some environments encourage growth, creativity, and emotional stability. They create space for reflection and meaningful conversation. In these environments, your energy tends to expand rather than contract. Other environments operate very differently. They are dominated by constant tension, competition, emotional drama, or subtle forms of manipulation. In these spaces, your attention becomes fragmented, and your emotional resources are continuously pulled in different directions. Protecting your energy sometimes requires making difficult choices about where you invest your presence. Not every environment deserves equal access to your attention and emotional involvement. When you begin choosing environments that align with your values and your psychological well-being, your energy naturally becomes more stable and focused. And this brings us to an important realization. Protecting your energy is not about building walls between yourself and the world. It is about learning how to remain present in life without losing connection with your own center. When you do not protect your energy, your life gradually becomes shaped by the expectations, emotions, and demands of everyone around you. Your attention becomes scattered, your emotional stability becomes fragile, and your sense of direction slowly fades. But when you begin protecting your energy consciously, something remarkable begins to happen. Your thoughts become clearer. Your relationships become more authentic. And your life begins to move in a direction that actually belongs to you. You start recognizing that your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Every moment of focus, every emotional investment, and every conversation you engage in shapes the structure of your inner world. When you become more intentional about where that energy goes, you begin reclaiming a sense of psychological freedom that many people spend their entire lives searching for. Because in the end, protecting your energy is not about avoiding people or withdrawing from relationships. It is about learning how to participate in life without abandoning yourself. And when you reach that point, your presence in the world becomes stronger, calmer, and far more intentional than before. If this video helped you reflect more deeply about your own psychological energy and the relationships that shape your inner world, consider subscribing to the channel. Here we explore the deeper patterns of the human psyche, the hidden forces behind our relationships, and the psychological insights that can help you live with greater awareness and clarity. And if this topic resonated with you, you may also want to explore the next video, where we dive even deeper into the unconscious patterns that quietly influence the way we think, feel, and relate to others. Because understanding the mind is not something that happens in a single moment. It is a journey that unfolds gradually, one insight at a time.